The one thing that I do want to talk about that's coming out of the WWE War Games San Diego, and this is more like, it's more like I guess like a rant, an op-ed. I don't know how to call this, but it led me to tweet this when I was thinking about it over the past couple of days. Not tweet, but post this on Blue Sky. Folks, do you remember when Becky Lynch was the coolest motherfucker in wrestling? Do you remember that? Because I do. I remember Becky Lynch being the hottest act in all of wrestling, the face of WWE, and on top of that, just being cool as hell. Where everything just worked, it just clicked, and you wanted more and more of that. You remember? I certainly remember. I even remember before she became the man, and how, she was just a natural baby face, and she had the complete and total support of the audience. And this has been going on for years. And finally, when she's starting to gain momentum, they decide to do a heel turn, and the audience straight up rejects it. Just an absolute bona fide rejection of her of that heel turn. They wanted to cheer for Becky. They did not want to cheer for Charlotte. But for WWE, especially for Vince at the time, Charlotte was the golden goose. It wasn't Becky Lynch and her dopey red hair and her dopey Irish accent. No. It was supposed to be Charlotte Flair, who was the queen of the queen of the company. I mean, that is her name, right? Her nickname. Not the queen of the company, but the queen. But I don't know what happened. Like, I can understand that wrestlers cool down. That's a natural thing that can happen. But usually when someone this hot needs to be downcycled or loses some of their heat or whatever, right? Typically speaking, you can heat them back up to what they were, but it's just not working with Becky anymore. And I kind of feel like she's working towards all of this not working for her anymore. Behold this. I'm sure you've seen this spot by now. I don't know if I can play it in its entirety without getting struck. But this is of course Io Sky's trash can spot, right? I don't even have to explain it anymore. She's been doing this for 17,000 years at this point. And somehow everyone gets really, really excited at the thought of Io Sky, despite the fact that we've seen this every fucking year since how many years has she been doing this? 4 years easily, right? Right? It has to be 4 years, if not more. But they have to do it every year now. And now they have to spray paint her logo on it. It's 5 years. This is the 5th year. She started doing this in 2020. All right. Now they spray paint the logo on it. Because it has to, right? Because it's WWE, the most inauthentic shit you can find on television today. All right? The absolute most inauthentic stuff that you can see. So outside of the fact that, this is a spot that she's been doing every year for 5 years, and it's kind of like, yeah, whatever. These WWE weirdos, right? The WWE TikTok, they don't care. They're still super excited about it. They want to see this happen. So she does it, right? She does the whole thing, right? And I think, is it a moonsault she usually does? Or did she just dive? Who cares? Now it lands, of course, does the thing. But here's what annoys me. Here's what grinds my gears here. We've got Becky Lynch right there, right? And Becky Lynch, who has been wrestling for, it has to be 20 years at this point, or close to. She's a double-decade veteran of professional wrestling, someone that you absolutely believe has seen it all, right? And who has seen this War Games moonsault with the trash can a couple of times, somehow gets completely stun locked. Look at the length of this. Look at the length. Look. Did you see how long that was? From the moment it lands. Okay, let's say here. Let's be generous. 39 seconds is right down here. It lasts easily. She's standing there like a goof for 12 seconds. Don't get me started here on Rhea Ripley doing the fucking head point bullshit. But everyone's just standing there going, oh my God. And Becky Lynch is standing there like an absolute dope. What did I just see? You know, there was a time Becky Lynch would have taken this opportunity right here of this, this goober cheering for the stunt that she just did, and she would have mounted her and started, beating the piss out of her. Just laying down rights directly onto her face. There was a time Becky Lynch would have done that, but instead, it's like, oh, wait a second. Oh no, what just happened? This is, yes, wrestling requires a certain amount of suspension of disbelief. But in this circumstance here, I cannot do that. I cannot suspend my disbelief because my belief here, the thing that I'm required to believe is that these two teams want to pummel the absolute hell out of each other so that they can win a wrestling match. I am not getting that vibe from this. This is a seasoned veteran, someone who is considered to be like a legit, for a long time. Some people called her the female Stone Cold. I'd be stretching a little bit, but bear with me here. And she's standing there going, mouth agape, not being unable to move. Now, do you think that heel Stone Cold would have stood there, hands on top of his bald head, staring down going, well, goddamn son, I don't know what just happened here. I hate this so much, but we're not done. Let's keep this going. We're not done here. Later in this match or before, I don't care. Look at this. But look at this. She's being pressed up against the cage. What is she doing? What is this? What is this selling? Becky! This is inexcusable for someone who has been doing this for as long as she has. What is she doing? And the foot press that is on her cheek is the softest foot press. There's no pressure. There's no pressure here. What is this selling? Why is Becky Lynch selling like dog shit? Then again, this isn't the first time this year that we've seen Becky Lynch sell like complete and utter garbage. Y'all remember this one? Now, granted, this move stinks. The AJ Lee windmill shit, absolute garbage. Don't get me wrong. But look at how Becky Lynch, we've talked about this before because I was so stunned at how bad her selling was. I got to show this again because this is what we're talking about. Her selling in the cage with the Charlotte shoe pressed gently on her face. This shit, her being stun locked. I thought I had saved something else. Hang on a second. Let's go to the figure 4 online. There. And then she's running this angle where she's denying to show up on WWE Raw until my title is returned to me. Carr is suspended. I don't know who that is. Jessica Carr, right? That's the referee. And an apology is issued. What is this geek behavior? The fuck is all of this? I believe that there is someone who just didn't like Becky and decided to go down this route, but this is not necessarily anything new. All of these things that I pointed out are not necessarily new things. It's just stuff that is just coming together now. It's just stuff that's coming together into such a small amount of time that now we're getting a perspective that we didn't have before. And that is that Becky Lynch is not even, she's a geek, okay? She's a geek now. She's not even remotely close to being a fraction of how cool she used to be in that period where she became iconic, where people made stickers and t-shirts of her bloodied face, right? I have one of those iconic t-shirts. I immediately bought one because I was sitting there and was like, this is the greatest organic creation of a wrestling star that I have seen in years. And everything just melted away. And yes, we talked about it on the last stream. Yes, you can absolutely point to the start of her reign after the WrestleMania main event when she had to feud with Lacey Evans, which was complete dog shit and something that was absolutely beneath her. They throw her into that feud and she was never able to rise above it. Now, was this a test to see if she could? Did she have the star power, the capability, the gumption to rise above being saddled with Lacey Evans? Maybe this was a test by Vince. You don't know. You never know. If it was, she failed. She 100% absolutely just came undone. It did not work out for her. It's fascinating to me how far this person has fallen and how uncool she has become. Even when she was babyface not that long ago, it still wasn't as cool. It just isn't. Because all the things that she's doing here as a heel are so larger than life, are bigger and stick with you more because of how terrible they are. There was a time she was wearing goofy suits like her geek boyfriend, right? Husband. She was wearing the goofy outfits as well. This is all shit that when you want to turn around and become the man again, and wear your tight leather pants and come out with the man t-shirt with the cutoff sleeves, that doesn't jive anymore. Then people will see right through it. Even the WWE TikTok people will see right through it. That's how bad it is. They'll see that it's phony. They'll see that it's contrived. They're not going to support that kind of shit. Why would they? It's bad. I think it was last week on my Dynamite review, I mentioned the idea of Samoa Joe running away from a fight, if I remember correctly. I think Samoa Joe was running away from a fight, right? Yeah, that's it. When Swerve and Hangman were coming to the ring on Dynamite, and then he hit the bricks. And I said very mildly in my review that I didn't care for it, and it doesn't make sense to me that a guy like Joe, even though he's a heel, a guy whose entire persona, his entire thing is, I am a legitimate, credible badass, and I will destroy you in a second, right? I will destroy you in a second. Why would he be running? Now, I understand the heel face dynamic, so you don't have to explain that to me, but I don't think Samoa Joe running from a fight is necessarily the best way to go about it either. Going to cower with his friends at the top and whatnot. And I said, I don't like it, and this is the kind of stuff that worries me. You can be a heel without being cowardly. And I kind of feel like this is always I feel like every heel now in 2025, that's their default setting. When the going gets tough, they hit the bricks, they hide behind their stable or, other jabronis that they might have brought around for the occasion, whatever. That's always the thing. And to me, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for a guy like Joe to be doing that. A guy like Samoa Joe is scary. He's dominant. And if he's taken a powder at the slightest sign of trouble, when there are literally like a dozen guys there to take care of two dudes, I don't know. Again, I understand the heel babyface dynamics here. The idea is for the babyfaces to look strong, so they're taking out, 10 guys or whatever. I understand. Even though they're outnumbered, the babyfaces will prevail. But Jesus Christ, I think there are better ways to do this. And I think it's a shame. I think it's a shame that this is unfortunately what's happened to Becky. Because, as you may remember a couple of weeks ago, I reviewed that so-called match of the year that Becky Lynch and Maxine Dupree had with each other from a Monday Night Raw thing where Becky was counted out and Maxine Dupree won, and people were unironically calling this a match of the year. And, if you recall my thoughts and my criticism on it, I said that if anything, this match was the best Becky Lynch performance that I had seen in a long, long time, because she commandeered this match. She was a true to form ring general, and her heel work was outstanding. She was great in this match with, Maxine Dupree with the sack of twigs. That was my main takeaway. So it's not as if Becky is washed. It's not as if she can't do this anymore. I look, somehow like this is the creative that they have for her. This is the best that they have for Becky Lynch. And it's extremely sad. It's extremely sad. And it's, to me, completely tainted her legacy. She could have been something much more commanding at this point in her professional wrestling career. But WWE's got to WWE it, right? And don't get me wrong, I'm not sitting here going poor Becky either, okay? I'm not sitting here lamenting, oh, Becky, poor you. Becky had opportunities to hit the bricks from this company. She had multiple opportunities to pick up and leave, and she decided to re-sign every single time. All right, that's all I need to know. She's completely okay with what's going on, and that makes me uninterested. That makes me completely uninterested. Because if she had shown signs that she was, she would have tried anything else. And I'm not necessarily saying go to AEW. Anything else, that she would have wanted to try anything else. But she didn't. She stuck around for whatever reasons. Look, she's making good money. Her and her geek husband, they're making tremendous money, buying their fleet of Cybertrucks. I mean, you got to be making some good cash here. So good for her. Don't get me wrong. But I'm not going to shed a tear for Becky Lynch. Not anymore. There may have been a time. Where I would have thought it to be unjust, unfair, but I can't want it more than they do. I cannot want more, a better position for a wrestler as far as their booking, their legacy goes. I can't want it more than the wrestler wants it themselves. It's the Shinsuke Nakamura conversation all over again that we had just not that long ago, where people still go, man, Shinsuke, WWE, if they could only use him better. I feel bad for Shinsuke. I don't. Shinsuke Nakamura has been with that company since 2017. He has had multiple opportunities to hit the bricks. And he didn't. He's fine. Who cares what I want at this point? What I want, I would have loved to see Shinsuke Nakamura free once again, going to play the Legends bit in Japan. I would have loved that. 2015. Thank you for the correction, chat. I would have loved to see this. Of course, the whole saga with the Tanahashi match, which we're going to talk about in a second or two. I would have loved for him to like break away from this company that, you know, doesn't know how to use him, that has no real plans for him, that'll just pull him out so he can be a challenger of the week and then put him back into the mothballs for 9 months. But he's resigned. This is another guy. He resigned every single time. I have no use for him. No pity. He can go do whatever the fuck he wants in WWE, of course. I don't care. And I cannot care more than they do. I honestly cannot. Not when they resign every time. Just like Becky. I was one of the... I was so vocal about my enthusiasm and appreciation and respect for Becky Lynch at the time, and how she truly was like a kind of a voice of the voiceless thing, right? Where she had risen up against all odds to finally be hoisted in a spot where people wanted her to be in. And then it got even bigger. She gets knocked in the face, and it just like snowballs into being the biggest wrestler in the world, you know? And now it's just like, she's just someone else. She's just someone who, once she retires and gets her nice little Hall of Fame, not her Legends deal, excuse me. They're gonna make sure that all the history is extremely positive, and WWE controls all the narratives, so people will buy it hook, line, and sinker. But for those of us who lived it in real time, it will not be good. It will not be good. But there you go. Becky Lynch, from Great to Geek. That's the name of the segment.